Welcome to the latest episode of Fight Talk with Bill, where we talk fights with me, your host, Bill. Right, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently this episode due to the Fili light offering on UFC 289. We're going to be having a recap of all things MMA and mainly UFC over the past month. So last time we caught up was UFC 288. So we're going to be following on from there at Rosen versus Jailton Almeida. And on the road fight night, which tend to make for much better cards than an Apex event with some very exciting action. Let's kick off the highlights of that card with Carlos Ulberg's TKO win, New Zealand's own Carlos Ulberg's TKO win over Ihor Potieria. Boom, check left hook. So we might have missed that there because it was so fast. Just a nice, sweet check left hook on the way in, then a bit of ground and pound to finish it out. Also on that card, we had rising Irish striker Ian Machado Gary taking on Daniel D-Rod with a TKO in the first round. Boom, stemming from a head kick, just as he predicted. Another Mystic Mac prediction from a guy that is being compared a lot to Conor McGregor, and so he should, because being Irish, lots of KO victories, and as of yet being undefeated. Also on this card, we have a very weird fight between Anthony Smith and light heavyweight, between Anthony Smith and Johnny Walker. Very important fight, could have been a title contender fight depending on who you talk to, where Smith mid-round starts accusing Johnny Walker of attacking his family. Much to Johnny Walker's confusion, obviously. As we know, Smith's home was invaded by someone high on meth or PCP years ago, and he had to fight that guy off. He said that was the hardest fight of his life. Maybe it's some PTSD stemming from that. Maybe it was just him trying to channel what he's fighting for in there. Then for the main event, we had Jailton Almeida's win over. Sorry guys, just find my thing here. Jailton Almeida's win over Jarenzo Rosenstruck by rear naked choke, much to as everyone's expected. Jailton Almeida is a rising star in heavyweight. As we know, heavyweight doesn't have a lot of high-level grapplers, and he is just steaming his way through that division. He's one to look out. He's one to look out for. Some people have argued that he's a little bit too light for the division, but it is not seeming that way so far. Then moving on to the weekend after, we had Dern v Hill. It was an Apex event, so not a lot going on there. Still some exciting stuff to be seeing within that. We had another tough loss for Michael Johnson, someone famous for having wins over some of the best, and then losses over people who are not so the best. He took on Diego Herrera, and then had this fairly hard to watch loss. Sorry for the lag. Oh, I lagged a little bit there. Really, what I find really funny about this loss is if we just jump forward. If we jump forward here, McGregor lands the thing and then goes for the follow-up and then sort of cradles his head like that, sort of as if, sorry for what he's done. It looks kind of like, when you hit your brother a bit too hard and you start crying and you start trying to console him so you don't get in trouble with mum. Shout out Jimmy. Then we also had Jonathan Buckley take on Andre Fijalo. His first fight at welterweight after moving down to middleweight. Hopefully we don't have too much lag here. This is quite an exciting one. With lag there, let's just bring it back and watch again. Sorry, my old MacBook is having trouble with too many things going on. And then this post-fight celebration.
Kick and he follows it up. Joaquin Buckley does it again.
Love that. All right. So that was very, very good stuff. And then obviously Dern venting her post-divorce rage out on a very, very dominant win over Angela Hill. Then of course we had last weekend with Kai Kara France's absolutely being robbed against Amir AlBazi. Here we say Amir AlBazi didn't think he won that fight. Absolute robbery. Here we have the scorecard. Like rounds 1 and 2 were close, so I can kind of see how you could have scored them. I felt like round 1 was clearly Kai. Round 2, yeah, probably Amir. The fact that Chris Lee has scored round 4 for Amir AlBazi is just is beyond belief. That loss hurt me a lot as a true patriot of my home country, New Zealand, and also hurt my sportswear account. So that was a tough one. All right, moving on. We've also had the first 2 episodes of Tough Season 31, featuring coaches Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor. It's despite having Conor McGregor on it, it kind of just is tough as usual. You know, the fighters having the same generic pre-fight interviews. You know, doing this to my family. I want it more than him, and that's gonna show in the fight. He's never fought someone like me before. The same old generic Tough. So if you didn't really like Tough before, even with Conor McGregor being in this, you're not gonna like it that much. I myself personally really enjoy Tough. I love the idea of getting a whole bunch of goons in the house together, getting them liquored up and fighting. You get a bit of background on them, which makes the fights more exciting. So I've been quite enjoying it. I have been tuning in every week and will be continuing to tune in every week. Also in news of that, there's still been no announcement for a fight between Conor and Michael Chandler. Dana was asked about it last week after UFC Vegas 74, and he just said it's hard to get these guys with so much money to fight, which does not bode well for this thing. We're not even sure if Conor's back in the testing pool. A lot of questions about this. Some people have been saying, are they going to wait for another big fight, even bigger fight than Chandler? Being as saying that maybe Chandler is a big enough name, maybe waiting for Nate to do his boxing fight and maybe him come back. Well, that's what I'm speculating, as in that trilogy would make huge sales. Who knows? Also during that interview, Dana brought up the prospect of Fury doing a fight in the UFC against Jon Jones. This is all stemmed from Rosen saying if Jones and Fury were in a room together, it would be Jones walking out there alive. Saying if they fight in a room together. Tyson Fury responded to that quite angrily by calling Rogan a beardy little twat. A baldy little twat. He likes to call people with beards and baldy little twats, despite the fact that he is bald and beardy. Dana, a couple of weeks before this, had poked fun at Joshua turning down the fight with Ngannou because it's a gimmick fight, making fun of gimmick fights. And then he goes in and then says, Fury, if you want to fight, we will do that. So they're making Fury a gimmick fight himself. It's more, people are speculating that's him just trying to get back at Ngannou by trying to take the Fury fight away from him. It does seem at this point that he would do something so petty. Topical on that is we had Francis made his announcement that he is signing with the PFL. This is an exclusive MMA contract that I think there's only 2 or 3 fights, maybe even 2. It also means he's got a seat on the fighters board as well as the executive of PFL Africa. He has said, though, in interviews that he's still looking for a big boxing fight this year and is not planning on making any MMA fights till early next year. So it's still going to be a while before we see him fight. In other announcement as well, we had UFC 291 announced. It was very exciting stuff. Absolute banger of a card. Poirier vs. Gaethje 2 for the BMF belt. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Herrera. Banger. Ferguson Green, banger. Costa, Alaskarov, weird, but great to see Costa fighting again, so banger. Thompson Pereira, banger. Lewis de Lima, banger. Michael Chiesa, Kevin Holland, banger, and the list goes on. So that is very, very exciting stuff. All right, with all that stuff out of the way, let's focus back to the card for this weekend, that being UFC 289. Nunes versus Odana for the bantamweight title. Now, probably by far the lightest pay-per-view offering this year, if not in recent memory. And especially a tough one for me because the only fight worth getting really excited about is one that I'm too nervous to be even excited about. That being between the co-main event between Charles Dubon's Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. Obviously, as the last time Charles fought, I'm still recovering from the trauma. That being, here's a photo of me afterwards, that being his title fight loss against Islam Makhachev. Here's me outside the Star Casino at probably maybe 7 a.m. in the morning, up since 2 a.m. drinking, broken, blonde-headed, just devastated. I'm still hurting from it. I'm still recovering from it, so I don't know, I'm too nervous to be excited. That being said, ridiculously exciting matchup. These guys are both ridiculously high-level grapplers, both World Championship level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and have also found fantastic striking over their careers. Charles, as we know, is a glass cannon. He throws everything at you, whether it is on the ground or on the feet, often giving up position to try and attempt submissions. As well as on the feet, he fires flying knees, he's tie clinching, he's throwing elbows, hooks, kicks, everything. With his Beneil, great grappling and great striking as well, but he's got just much less in his arsenal, but much more careful and focused. So he's a southpaw, uses it well, has a great straight left, very slow potting pace, but fantastic timing. He's got 2 or 3 main weapons he uses, but he uses them really well with his Charles throws literally everything at you. On the ground, Charles loves fighting off his back, loves throwing up lots and lots of submissions, and he can be defensively unwise, I believe, because his defense is to have you defending his submissions, so he doesn't have to defend anything from you. But when it actually comes to being defensively wise, there's not much sense there. I personally do think Beneil is going to win because if he hurts Charles on the feet and chases him to the ground, Charles needs that time to recover, which Gage gave him, which Chandler gave him, which Poirier gave him that time to recover, and then he came back. Islam didn't give him that time to recover, and that's how he ended up securing the victory. Even despite me believing Dariush was going to win, I couldn't help myself, and I ended up putting money down on Charles. I just went for a straight money line, but what I probably should have gone with now that I think about it is the double chance Charles by KO submission because he's most finishes in UFC history. That's how he's likely going to win. Both of these guys have lost by KO before, and both of these guys have lost by submission before. So both of them could KO each other. Both of them have it in them to KO each other. Both of them have it in them to sub each other. It's going to be a very exciting fight. I'm very, very excited. Also very nervous. Don't know what to do. Don't know what to think myself. And then the main event, obviously, Amanda Nunes taking on Irene Odana. It was, well, not a late replacement, but replacing Giovanni. Who was originally supposed to be in this fight. Irene Odana is the more refined striker, but Nunes has a huge power advantage as well as a grappling advantage. I think she's going to take it out. Some are questioning if Nunes is, still hungry for it. So a very interesting fight. We could see an upset. Still unsure if I'll have any action on this. The rest of the card, as we know, is quite light. A lot of who's that, but I guess it makes sense as we have a lot of Canadians on the card. So if they're not going to give the Canadians a decent card, at least they're going to give them some of their home people on the card. Nate the Train is a rising contender and really funny on the mic, so have a look out for him. I think he's probably going to have difficulty with Dan Ige. The feature prelim fight we have here between Nasruddin Imavov and Chris Curtis is going to be an interesting one. Nasruddin Imavov's last fight was against Chris Curtis' best friend and teammate Sean Strickland, where he's very, very frustrated by the jab and the pace. So I think he's going to be firing back out. He is the favourite for this one, Both of these are at 157 to Chris versus 237. Both of these guys love to stand up, so I think that'll actually be an exciting fight. Look out for that one. But besides that, there's not really much else to look out for. Okay, with that all wrapped up, like I said, I didn't really go into it too much. It's not that exciting of a card and anything. But let's have a look here of the next few months between now and when we're going to catch up next before UFC 290. So we've got Vettori versus Cannonier, which should be an interesting fight. I think we do have some odds out on this. Vettori the favourite. I think he's going to try and maybe just suffocate Cannonier, secure the win. He's kind of boring in that style. Cannonier will hope to maybe get out from under his grappling and score some big shots. Probably think Vettori will take it. But of note on this card is Arman Tsarukyan taking on Joaquin Silva. I don't know much about Silva, but Tsarukyan is absolutely amazing at lightweight. He must watch television. I think he's going to be champ one day, so I'm always tuning in for him. Then next we have Emmett versus Topuria. Super exciting fight. I was going to say Topuria is one of my favourite rising stars, contenders. But he's already kind of in the spotlight. He takes on Josh Emmett. Topuria is a huge favourite in this. I think I agree he should be a favourite, but I'm not sure if he should be that much of a favourite at 360. Josh Emmett does have those nukes in his hand. What else on this card is not too much of note? You got Magny versus Rowe, it's pretty interesting. Allen and Silva, these are both rising middleweights. And I think there was a nice heavyweight fight. Yeah, Lane versus Tuffer, hidden back there. And then we also have Strickland versus Magomedov. Kind of a weird fight as well. Like, I think it should have been Costa versus Strickland. That makes a clear fight. Everyone would love to see that and put these two Dagestanis against each other. But who knows why. Not much else on there of note. And then that leads us to UFC 290, which I'll obviously be getting more into the episode. But we've got Volk taking on Rodriguez, Moreno, Pantoja, banger, Whittaker Duplessis, banger, Treno Hooker, banger, Nickel vs. Gore, interesting, Lawler vs. Price, banger, Brady vs. Della, banger. Really, really looking forward to that one. So, I'll be catching up with you all then. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. This has been Fight Talk with Bill, and I will see you next time.